This week, I'm here to talk about why Facebook is afraid of iOS 14, and of course I got some updates on the whole Apple versus Epic drama. So let's go ahead and hop right into it together as a people, of course, and check it out. And welcome to another sensational Saturday. This is Mike, and this is Mike Texted Out. And yes, we are here, hopping right back into it. I know I've covered Epic versus Apple for the last 2 weeks, and for that reason, I still want to deliver any news updates that's available. So before I hop into the whole thing that's going on with Apple and Facebook, I wanted to give you the latest on this because I already been following it up until this point, and I honestly don't think that there's going to be that much going on after this week, at least for a while, until their actual lawsuit goes to court. So let's just go ahead and jump into that news. So here's a quick recap. Last week I mentioned that Epic filed an injunction basically to prevent Apple from removing their developer tools from iOS and from macOS, things like Unreal Engine that would have affected a lot of other developers other than Epic, and two, to get Fortnite put back on the store because they felt like Apple was reacting in retaliation. So that injunction that went before a judge, and they decided on it. And basically what it came down to is they did block Apple from removing the developer tools, but they're not making Apple put Fortnite back on the store because they basically said like, hey, that was a clear breach of contract. That's why I got removed. That has nothing to do with Apple retaliating, like you broke the contract and they removed the app. So no. And apparently the judge really didn't seem empathetic towards Epic from what I read in the Engadget article. And then they basically said that Apple trying to remove the developer tools is kind of an overreach because it really has nothing to do with the situation. And the reason that they blocked Apple from doing it is because technically the tools belong to Epic International, not Epic Games, which is a separate company. And apparently Apple argued in court that they don't view them as a separate company, that basically it's Epic International is a shell company. It's not, a real company. It's just a company they have in the books. But of course, the judge is a judge, and she's like, it's a company, so it is what it is. Like, they had nothing to do with what happened with Epic Games, so you shouldn't remove the developer tools. So they did block that. So following that update, Apple couldn't remove the developer tools because that's technically under a different company, but they did go ahead and ban Epic Games' account yesterday. So basically, they can't do any more updates or any more development on iOS for any of their apps, including Fortnite, which of course you would think like, oh, it's not in the store anymore, so why would it matter? Well, there's still people that can play it that already had it downloaded, so they're just gonna be stuck on an older version. Epic actually sent out an email about it that basically says what you can and can't do if you're on the iOS version of it, because everybody else is gonna be moving to the newer version. So they're just blocked out of things like the battle pass. There's certain cosmetics that they can't get, at least as of right now. I mean, eventually, depending on how long this takes, the iOS version is gonna get so outdated that it's just not gonna be playable anymore. So it seems like the judge made the right decision because it seems like both sides are being a little bit petty. I feel like Epic is a little bit more petty, but Apple trying to pull the developer tools was definitely petty because it really had nothing to do with the situation. Like, if you're already gonna ban Epic Games' account, there's no reason to pull down the developer tools because a lot of other games use that. A lot of games use Unreal Engine. So it didn't really make any sense to me for them to remove it. And then obviously it wouldn't have made any sense for them to be forced to put Fortnite back on the store when Epic clearly broke the rules. It's just going to depend on what this other lawsuit, like the big lawsuit, turns out, which in any case, it might force Apple to change some of their policies, but it might not be 100% like, oh, you have to put the game back on the store and give Epic everything they want. I think it's probably going to end up being somewhere in the middle where Apple's kind of forced to kind of loosen some of their policies, or at least hopefully that'd be the best result of this. That would benefit everybody. I did talk about this further in my podcast with me and my friend Dijon, DMMR, where we talk about art and technology. It'll be out tomorrow. So on Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, basically everywhere you can get podcasts. Just look up DMMR. It's awesome. Anyway, enough of the shameless self-promotion. It's time to move into the main thing I want to talk about today. It's Facebook versus Apple. Now, this is mainly Facebook versus iOS, and this story is I would say it's dumb, but it really gives you the mindset that Facebook is in. So if you're not aware, iOS 14 is going to have a lot of privacy features that make it fairly easy for the user to see which permissions that an app is granting. Even before you download it, it's going to have on the app store, it's just going to have a list of like, this app wants access to all these things. And then in certain cases, you can decide if you want the app to have access to it or not. Kind of like, you know, if you're on iOS and you go to, you're on Messenger and you go to take a picture, it asks you if you want to give this app permission for your camera. Well, on iOS 14, it's going to start doing that with a lot more things involving privacy and how your data is handled. And that's going to affect Facebook. Basically what it is, each phone has a unique identifier. The way their ads work is tied into the identifiers. This account is tied to this device, as serve this device these ads based off they were looking at this or this. So that way it's kind of a way to link the phone to the account. It's like basically, hey, do you want to give this app access to your phone's unique information, like your phone's identifier? And if you say no, then targeted ads don't work correctly. So basically they sent out a couple of statements on their app platform, audience network, and they're trying to spin this whole thing as saying like, oh, iOS 14 is really going to hurt businesses, you know, who rely on these ads. And, you know, based on our research, it could be up to a 50% loss. So yeah, as a result of iOS 14 just being more transparent about like, hey, this app's requesting this data from the operating system, Facebook's worried about it now because I guess they're kind of doing some shady stuff. And that's not that there's anything out of the normal with a lot of advertisers do, is like they want to identify you, identify this device, and that way that helps them learn your habits and they can serve you personalized ads. I get that's a way to make money, so I'm not like 100% like, ooh, you know, we shouldn't have ads at all. Because that's how people make money, you know. That's revenue, that's how TV works, that's how a lot of this stuff works. But at the same time, yes, you should have the right to opt in or out of personalized ads. That's the bottom line. But the way Facebook is spinning this to their audience network is like, we might see a 50% loss in profit based on the research we've done so far with people running the iOS 14 beta, and that we might have to shut it down on iOS altogether. They're basically spinning this like it's gonna hurt small businesses, instead of the fact that obviously they're gonna lose money, because now that people are gonna be like, oh, why does Facebook need access? No, I don't want Facebook to have access to my phone's identifier. Like, why would I do that? So they're really trying to spin this to make it seem like it's going to hurt other businesses, which I'm sure it will to some extent. But, you know, if they're gathering this data without the user fully understanding, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And iOS 14 is the right direction to addressing this issue. So no, I really don't feel bad for Facebook in this situation, given their history, given all the stuff that's happened related to privacy with Facebook. For Facebook to come out here and speak against an option that gives more privacy to a user, more privacy options, it just makes them seem shadier than they already are, and they're already pretty shady, so that's pretty bad. Anyway, that's what I got for this week. Again, make sure to check out the podcast DMMR if you want to hear my in-depth rambling on a bunch of different things. Some of them related to tech, some of them related to movies, some of them related to video games and art. There's a bunch of stuff we talk about. Check it out. I'm out of here. I'll be back on Tuesday with a video that doesn't exist yet, so I don't know what it's going to be about. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.